Hey guys, how's it going? And thanks for coming. I'm Nick, and this is Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money because schools aren't. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. So let's get started. So in this video, guys, we're going over how to increase your credit score quick. Now, I do have a secret at the end going over why credit scores are technically not everything. People talk about credit scores are so super important. Not necessarily. Why you should listen to me. Some background for myself. I actually have an 800 credit score right now. I'm 25. Last month was my birthday. I'm 26. So it is definitely possible to get to that level of 800. And I'll have some timestamps below so you could skip around throughout the video to make it quicker, more convenient for you. But starting off with the first thing of how to increase that credit score really quickly, super simple, guys, is your payment history. Now, of course, pay the minimum at least. You should not be not paying it. Don't have like unpaid balances, and definitely don't have late payments. Pay it on time. If anything, you could pay it like a day or two in advance just to make sure you're paying it. Now, this first factor is the most important, actually. Looking at different websites, it does show that it is 35% of what actually accumulates to what they look at for a credit score. Now, going back to those monthly payments of paying at least the minimum payment, but also try to pay more than that. And if you can, pay the balance off, pay the statement. And this leads to our second factor that we're talking about, what they look at for their credit cards, and that is the balances for your debt. This is the second most important factor because it actually counts for 30% of how they calculate your credit score. Now, I'm talking for now mostly just credit card debt. Later we're going to be talking about other types. But with this credit card debt, they look at, it's called utilization, and we have to keep that level low. Now, what utilization means is that, let's say you have a $1,000 credit limit and you have a $100 balance on that. That means you have a 10%, 100 divided by 1,000, a 10% utilization rate. So you have to try to keep that as low as possible, under that 10% if you can. Now, to decrease these balances, obviously, the first thing you got to do is pay off those balances. Because if you have a 100% utilization rate, you have to pay it down so you get under that 10% mark. Now, some other ways to help assist you do this, instead of I would still suggest paying more than the minimum, pay the statement off, pay as much as you can toward it. But some extra factors that you could also include is, instead of using your credit card while you're trying to fix your utilization rate, try switching to a debit card, because now you're just going to be taking money straight from your bank account, and now you're not racking up any more balances on your credit card, so that makes you pay it down faster. You could even just use cash. Just use anything besides the credit card so you're not putting anything more into it. So if you need help paying off debt, not only credit card debt, but student loans, I do have another video going over how to pay off those student loans. It's a series of videos telling you exactly what to do. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested. Now, the third factor for your credit score is your credit history, and this accounts for 15% of what they calculate. So this means how long you've had credit for. And if you are new to this, if you are younger, if you're in high school or even college, how to start building your credit, you could go for something called a secured credit card. You could go to a bank and then you essentially use your own money and pay it off. That builds your credit worthiness. It'll increase your credit, and you could do that for maybe like a year. You could establish some credit and then get an actual credit card if you wish. Word of wisdom, don't apply for a bunch of credit cards at the same time, because all those inquiries at once is not good. And also realize, this is kind of going with if you don't have like a balance or anything, but if you have a card and you're not using it, after a while they could close it out because there's no activity on it. So that could actually decrease your total credit available, which might affect you a bit. Now, the last two factors are a little bit less calculated. They're like 10% each. It's nothing crazy. Of course, it does accumulate into the score, but it's less effective of your overall score. However, it is looking at your new credit, like what other lines you have out there or what other loans, and also the different types of credit. When I say different types of credit, we are looking at two different types. The first type is revolving credit. That means you always have a credit line and you could use it whenever. That is similar to a credit card. You always have a limit and you could use that when you wish. Versus not a revolving, but installment. And that would be, let's say, like a mortgage. When you have a large loan and you pay it off every month. Quick pro tip, if you want to maintain the accuracy of your credit score, you can check it every year for free just to see what your score is. The three main guys that you could visit is Experian, TransUnion, and also Equifax. Those are the three main credit bureaus. Now, overall, that's the essentials. Like, think of it from their perspective. If they have a borrower paying them back on time, no problems, they're going to find you more reliable. So just be that type of borrower. If you guys are interested of how I actually got my 800 score, I actually had an even 800 for the past like 5 months now. But I do have another video going over like the details of how I did it and everything. I try to find it for you guys if you're interested. But like I promised you guys, the possible lie about the credit score. Now, everyone knows it's like, oh, you got to increase your credit score. You have to have good credit for life, right? But what a credit score means is that you're just a reputable borrower. It means if you're going to borrow money, people trust you more. Well, the issue is if you don't need to borrow money, then essentially the credit score is pointless. You don't need one at all. So logically speaking, the main things that people borrow money for is essentially a car. I would suggest paying cash for a car, like save up and actually do that. Does that mean you have to buy a cheaper car? Yeah, sometimes it does, but you know, you could get a car loan. Fine. Something else a lot of people need a loan for is a mortgage for a house. Obviously, not many people have like $250,000 in cash to buy a house, or, I mean, I'm in New York. Houses are expensive. But in other places, you know, there's still 6 figures that you need in cash to pay it. It's possible. So I guess those are the two main things that people would borrow money for. Unfortunately, a lot of people borrow money for student loans as well. You can pay those in cash. It depends how expensive it is, but technically, if you go to a public college, like in state, it is cheaper and it is possible to pay off those loans. Well, have no loans, just pay it out in cash. So technically, if you do pay everything out, you don't need to borrow any money. Credit score means nothing to you. So just to get your mind rewired, it's not like everything in the world. Credit score isn't like so super important. It's important if you're going for a mortgage, which most people do. However, it's not like your life is going to end if you have a garbage score. So let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. What is your credit score? So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.